So it's like the
October
opposite side
10th
of Pelican Bay.
at 1:45. If you have been released before then, they are actually going to vacate that date and instead see you on October 31st, 2025 at 9 a.m.
Halloween.
If you fail to appear for Tucson
I
City
wouldn't want to go
Court,
to court on
a warrant
Halloween.
can issue for your arrest. The hearings can go forward without you, including your trial. And if you are found guilty and then fail to appear for sentencing for 90 days, you can lose your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
So
That's all for
Tucson is
today.
probably where Michael Myers lives.
It's cash receipt.
Hey, I'm looking at the map of California of other counties. The biggest county in California is San Bernardino County. That thing is huge.
I think that was our
It's
last
a
hearing, Your Honor.
wasteland. There's
Thank you,
nothing
everyone.
there.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, compared to LA County, man, it's like you could put LA County maybe about 8 times into San Bernardino County. All right, court is over, guys. Court is over. So, for those of you that are just getting in here, or
All in peace and sin no more.
so I'm currently on the phone with Silas Johnson, Silas M. Johnson. He's currently located in Centinela State Prison, which is located in Imperial County, or in El Valle Imperial, if you will. Hey, Silas, for those listening in right now that are not familiar who you are, would you mind giving them an introduction of who you are, what you've been through, and where you're currently at?
Yeah, sure. So, hey, what's up, everybody? This is Silas M. Johnson. As James said, I'm currently housed at Centinela State Prison. I've been incarcerated for 24 years, 7 months for robbery and second-degree 187. Currently, I was found suitable for parole in June of earlier this year, and I'm currently doing a review period, waiting to be released. So probably just under 60 days, I'm waiting to be released back in the community and parole. I'm a student. I recently graduated and received my bachelor's degree from San Diego State University. Looking forward to going into the master's degree program out there in society. I'm an author. I've written one book so far, Rivers Light in the Barren Tunnel. It's a poetry and composition book. Elegies and Effigy and I'm currently working on a horror novel right now. And so that's a little bit about me.
That's right, Silas. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Let me see some of the comments right here. What they wrote here. Let me see. Let me see here. My bio. 50 Shades of Tay writes. My bio dad was in Tracy. Hype Queen writes. Good luck. And then Jessica wants to know when you get out.
I should be getting out. Probably a little bit under 60 days, so probably roughly 55 days now.
55
approximately.
And how does that feel? Because at one point in
You
California,
have 60 seconds remaining.
you could have had 5 years to life. You could have had 10 years to life. As long as you had that life sentence at the end of your sentence, you were never going to get out. How does it feel now that you have some? There's hope, at the end of the tunnel for you.
I'll give you a call back and then I'll answer your question.
All right, for sure.
Okay.
Murph, have you been doing any course recently? No, I haven't. For the last month or so, I really haven't been doing any course or that much streaming at all. I'm trying to get back into it. Janelle wrote, what's the book called? Let me see. Let me look it up. It's River. I forget it. It's confuses me. In other words, let me see.
This is Global
call is now
Telly.
being recorded.
You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an incarcerated individual at
Are you in
the
jail?
Centinela State Prison,
me.
Centinela, California.
I'm a free man.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now.
Cinco.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, Silas.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
Well,
Yeah. So to answer your,
before you answer that
go ahead.
question, what's the name of your book? We had one of the viewers asking what the name of your book was again.
A River's Light in a Barren Tunnel, Elegies and Effigy. You can actually just Google my name, Silas, Silas, M, as in Martin, and Johnson, and you can just Google my name and it'll come up. It should come up. It's the cover is black mountain range and a red moon and red sky background in the lake. So yeah, it should come up on Google if you just Google it.
I just got it. As a matter of fact, what I'm gonna do? No, you know what? I would put it on the stream, but then TT will probably say that I'm promoting, and they'll cut my stream. So I'll just write it on the chat for anybody who wants to look it up. All right.
Okay. Yeah. So to answer your question, it's kind of it doesn't feel like I thought it would feel. Like you mentioned earlier, when I came into prison, with 24 to life, 24 years ago, my expectation was that, I was going to die in prison, and, over the last, of course, 10 years, California has gone from a retributive model to a restorative justice model. And I mean, even probably the last 6 or 7 years, I really didn't have any much hope of, ever being released because of just my horrible history in prison and my misconduct in here. And it feels good to know that, that home is on the horizon, but for me, it means a bunch of different things. Home, just the word home means something entirely different. I'm from the San Fernando Valley, and I grew up there, went to high school there, and, my family home is there, which my brother still lives in. But for me, home was, my grandparents being in that house, and, they passed on. My father being in that house who I grew up with, who since passed on. So home is, for me, going to take on something, a different meaning. I have to go out there and find a home for myself and make a home for myself. And also the anxieties that come along with, just the last few months. It's kind of surreal being told, that you're found suitable for parole after all of these years. And I mean, just the last couple of months, I say it's been over 3 months, but the last couple of months have been, particularly the last month, has been really difficult. Just, there's a certain level of anxiety. There's, you feel like you're walking around on pins and needles because, you do anything wrong and, your suitability can be taken away. And I mean, just the level of anxiety and if I'm being honest, like cynicism, like I just keep waking up every day wondering, like, is something going to happen? Are they going to take this away from me? And, like, I'm just so used to being here, and my mind is so set on this routine that it's kind of hard to fathom anything beyond this. Even though I've prepared and I've been working for this for the longest, it's just, I guess, just the distrust of the system and the distrust of being actually rewarded for something that you've earned by the state standard, not by any moral standard. It's just kind of like hanging over my head, and there's the guilt of all of the things that I've done, to get in prison, the things I've done after that, and so it's a bag of emotions. It's a mixed bag for sure.
And you mentioned that it could be taken away from you, and I think when you say that, people don't realize how small of incident that you could have for them to take away, take your data away. It could be something as small as walking out of bounds. There might be a yellow line on the floor, and you cross that line, and the officer decides to write you up on it. That's it. Your date's gone. Or taking food from breakfast or lunch or dinner, taking it back out of the chow hall. That could get you smacking your lips at the officer. Anything and everything could cost you your date, right, Silas?
Right. I mean, absolutely. obviously the larger levels of misconduct are behind me. The fighting, the weapons, the cell phone, all that stuff is far behind me. But like you said, like anything, I have to be vigilant about everything. Crossing yellow lines when I'm walking, and things that just people do every day here because that's just just
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
people just get used to just flouting the rules because nobody's hands are clean here. The officers, the residents, and so there's a culture of just kind of like this, off book policy of where hey, we won't trip off of the small things. You guys don't trip off of the small things, but I don't have the room of margin for error. I mean, I have to make sure that everything that I do is by the book and and as it should be, but it just places just a little bit of extra, pressure on you and anxiety on you, and you're being extra vigilant about everything that you do, you say, and it's not even about doing something necessarily like this, that's like in a violent offense or something like this outlandish. It's just like just the ordinary everyday things that I have to do the ordinary extraordinary right now. And going back into society as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think you know what, having those rules, as unfair as they seem, it definitely gets you ready. When you walk out them doors and you're back into society, because there's a lot more rules out here that you got to follow than prison. And if you're able to follow those rules and you're able to come out under those circumstances, then being out here, I feel it'll be a breeze. For you to follow whatever laws or regulations are out here, and then also you're going to be on probation, so that gives an extra set of rules that you got. Not only the rules that you got to follow from society, though, the rules that you got to follow from the board of parole and your parole officer.
Yeah, and like you said, being on parole is going to have its own provisions and rules and guidelines. And transitional housing, they're going to have their own rules. And so, I mean, without question, there's a method, to all the mechanisms in place, and being, if all of the things, the way that you have to live your life as a lifer to be able to parole from prison and re-enter society, you can do that. You can go out there and claim whatever life it is that you want for yourself out there, because all of those rules and violations all those rules and regulations in society are going to be, they're going to be so loose compared to the constrictions of prison. So, I mean, you can go out there and just outclass, outwork, outschool anybody out there.
Yeah. Let me see. I got some comments here from Nicola. She wrote, "It would be so overwhelming for him." Paula also writes, "It would be hard. It would be hard to readjust to society after that long." How do you see yourself readjusting it back into society? You've been out of off of the streets for almost going on 25 years at this point. Do you think it's going to be a challenge for you to readjust to society?
I think 5 years ago, I would have told you no. Hey, I can go out today and I'll be right back into the swing of things. I think being a little bit wiser and a little bit pragmatic about my approach, I think it's definitely going to be a challenge. And it's going to be a challenge culturally. The way that I left society, the culture is really different. I'll give you one example. I was talking to my brother about the other day. Every time I talk to people or I watch television.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I see people with their faces in their phones, and like the human connection is so distorted and strange now that no one's really being actively present in their existence. They're always looking for something else or waiting for something else. I've seen like a few times couples sitting down at a table, where they're having a meal, and they should be talking and enjoying each other, and both of them are in their phones. And that culture is so odd to me, it's so foreign to me, because when I left, there were no smartphones. So people weren't doing that. When you went to a concert, when you went to a basketball, football game, you were enjoying the experience, and now it's like people are documenting the experience. And when bad things happen on television, like I seen an old lady getting beat up somewhere. I can't remember what city or where it was, what state. But instead of someone assisting the woman, they were filming it, and it's just people are so detached from. It seems for me, it seems like from their humanity and being present and actively existing and enjoying the experience of life, that it's gonna be strange to be in a world full of people who live like that every single day. That's gonna be strange for me.
You know what, Silas? And something that I noticed, it's not like that everywhere. From time to time, I'm fortunate enough to be able to travel, and I've been to places like Prague. When we went to Prague, people were not on their phones. People were out, actually outside doing things. Walking around, shopping, having dinner, just enjoying time with their family, and I found it kind of odd, because I'm used to being in the U.S. and everybody being so focused on their phone. When I got there and I was looking at people, I'm like, man, people are actually, they're doing like real things. They're not sharing it with other people. They're just sharing it with the people that are there with them. If they weren't there, then they weren't gonna know and enjoy what they were doing at that present moment. So I noticed that that in when we were in Prague and we were walking around and whatnot, and people were looking around. People were looking at me like, damn, look at this dude. He must be from the U.S. I'm assuming when they would be looking at me. When I'm over there, we're in a video visit walking around. I got my whole contraption, walking around, and I'm pretty sure they found that odd, that I'm over there streaming or recording or whatever I was doing with my phones. Did you notice that, when we're walking around, how people were just like walking around holding hands or, just doing regular people stuff?
Yeah, I did. And it was refreshing to see that, that culturally that people are, it just seems like to me, right, on like a deeper level, that people really don't value people in this country anymore. Like as a culture, we Americans, we value things as opposed to people in relationships. And I mean, I don't know, maybe that sounds a little old fashioned, but I don't know. It's just going to be it's going to be an adjustment stepping into a world like that. And not only that, just the reacclimating to the agency that I'm going to have. You mentioned parole, but I mean, even on parole, you have a degree of agency that, in the canteen items here, right? There's I guess a nice little volume of choices, but I mean, it's limited, and the package book, the vendors that we can order from, the choices are limited. Like the clothes, you can only wear gray, you can only purchase clothes that are gray or white, that's it. There's just limitations in here, and going out into society and being able to have the agency to choose, what colors you wear, to choose, it's going to be different, to actually be able to dress yourself as an individual instead of just one variation of the next in here. That's going to be different. Being around people in society as opposed to people in prison. There's when you talk about culture, there's an inflated sense of respect in here. That people really don't have.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I see the way that people talk to one another out there, and so, for me, it's definitely going to be something to adjust to, as well as, finding a whole new group of people, in the academic department and employment sector, because, as a former gang member, that life I had is gone. All of those connections I had are gone. So that part I'm looking forward to. That's going to be exciting, going out there and finding my tribe of, like I said, of educators, of students, of, people who have been through reentry. That's going to be exciting for me. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, Sally. So we're down to about 15 seconds before this call is automatically cut off. If you want to go ahead and give us a call back. Hey, let me ask you, what's going to be your first outfit? What's your first outfit that you're going to wear when you come home? And I'll let you answer that when you come back.
All right.
All right, Jessica. So Jessica's asking me, how do I know him? So a few years ago, I had a friend that ended up, a childhood friend, and that he ended up in the same yard as Silas. And I had pitched this idea to my buddy there that I was like, man, look, I wanna start a YouTube channel where I want to talk to individuals that are in prison and get what their life story is, their earliest memory as a child. So he spoke to a few individuals that were interested in doing something like that, and Silas was the second individual that was willing to come on. And ever since then, this is over a little bit over 2 years ago at this point that we've been talking. So that's how I met him. I met him through a friend of a friend.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah. So my first outfit, I haven't fully figured it out yet, but I started it. So I have the hoodie. I have a hoodie that I'm gonna wear that I've already that I already have at my house. It's a green Philadelphia Eagles hoodie, between the pylons hoodie. It's a midnight green hoodie with the Philadelphia Eagles writing on there in gray. I'm a lifelong Philadelphia sports fanatic, so I got to wear the champs, going home. And I'm thinking about like some sweats, but I can't find the right kind of sweats so I'm thinking about some sweats. I can't find the midnight green sweats, so I'm still looking for those. And for my shoes, thinking about seriously considering the Jordan 4s, the all white Air Jordans with the Oreos. Thinking about those. It's either those, maybe some Air Max 90s, like some gray Air Max 90s. And so that's gonna be my first fit.
Man, I'm sure you can't wait. Let me see. Shannon wrote, he'll no longer be just a number anymore. And then Janelle wants to know, where are you gonna eat?
What am I gonna eat? I've had my heart set on IHOP, and I've had my choice criticized by every single one of my family members. Every single one. But I think I'm sticking with IHOP. I want IHOP. I want a huge breakfast at IHOP. James is going to come through and pick me up, and he's going to document the castle of food that I have in front of me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, IHOP.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Pancakes, bacon, sausage, cheese, eggs, and hash browns, and blueberry syrup for the pancakes. That's what we going with.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up. What do you call it? IHOP right there in Imperial Valley or El Centro. And
Probably some Pepto-Bismol.
Hey, don't you worry, Silas. I got this powder that I drink for whenever I'm out on the road, so I don't have to use the restroom. So we'll go ahead and give you a half of that, and you should be good to go. Let me see.
Yeah, it's good.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's gonna be a long day.
Yeah, and then let me see. Janelle wrote, he got a document. So Trip. So for those of you that are not familiar how I do these releases when somebody does come out of prison, I've done I think 3 or 4 in the last year and a half. So normally what I'll do is I'll be at the prison really early in the morning, maybe like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll set up all my equipment and whatnot, and then I'll take phone calls from prison while we're waiting for Silas to come out. The van will pull up about 7:30 or 8. Silas will get up the van. This is how I envision it. Who knows if this is how it play out, but hopefully it does. We'll interview Silas live on TT and on YT, so you guys will be seeing him in real time. And then we'll do an interview for about an hour. We'll jump onto the car. I'm gonna continue documenting our day, and we'll go to IHOP. Shit, if Silas even if he's up for it, shit, we'll be streaming his first meal, live and direct. I'm not sure if that's something you guys would be interested in seeing, but that's something we could definitely do. And then He has some other ideas of going to stop off at a local college and then heading to LA, and all of that we plan on definitely documenting his day in life of Silas, his first day out. So definitely be on the lookout.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, we're hoping that this happens sometime before the end of November. We're hoping it happens next month, but with the
Right.
state of California, you just
Right.
never know. There's so many variables going on in the background that a lot of things could change. And for those of you that watch like the bank hearings or parole board hearings, you guys know, when the parole board has different plans, then they're gonna do that, and they could definitely slow you down. But hopefully that doesn't happen, and we'll be there sometime before Thanksgiving. Hopefully, I'm hoping before Thanksgiving we're able to
Yeah.
be out there.
Yeah, we're gonna give you guys an all access pass to my first day out in the Cayes.
That guy is that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna take y'all along with us. I want. I've been tapping in with James right here on You Have a Collect Call for the last few years, and man, he's been an incredible asset for not only me but for a lot of the lifer and incarcerated population in here, and I feel like it's the perfect way to go home to have him come and share my day and experience it with him and have him document it and and sharing my journey of my first day out coming home and to see the beginning of my journey, man, for the rest of my life out there. So I'm definitely excited to share that with him and share that with you guys.
Yeah. No, I can't wait, man. I got so many so many ideas and a vision. Hopefully it plays out the way that I anticipated. But yeah, man, it's definitely gonna be a good moment. Seeing you get off that van and just seeing you live in the flesh. I've seen you on the video visits, but it's a lot different. When you're there in person. I remember I had asked Joe. I was like, man, does it feel real? Like does it feel like you just got out of prison? Because you go from one setting to another. There's no transition period. You just go from point A to point B, bam, and you're free already.
Yeah.
How do you anticipate that being? Going from being in R&R and then jumping on that van and then bam, you're gonna be right there. There's gonna be a camera right in front of your face.
I've talked to Jesse about this and my brothers as well. In the yard right here, this is a medium security prison, so there's a chain link fence between the buildings. You can see off into the horizon outside of the prison, like the parking lot where visitors and workers, staff come and different parts of the yard. You can see outside just going into the mountains and desert and everything. And but anytime you leave the yard, there's a fence they have to buzz you out, whether you're going to visiting. I've been buzzed out of that fence to go to regular visiting right here. I've been buzzed out of the gate to go to family visiting. I've been buzzed out of the gate to go to outside medical in San Diego. I've been buzzed out of the gate to go to Central Health right here, which is basically the clinic or hospital for the prison. But as chairman, I've been buzzed out to go to MACREP meetings. But I've always been buzzed out of that gate, knowing that I was coming back to this yard. And it's going to be really, really strange taking that walk to that gate around the track, knowing that I'm not coming back. That I'm getting buzzed out of this gate and this is it. I think that's when it's finally going to hit me, that walk, to over there to R&R or to get in the golf cart to go over there to R&R. And then, going over there and, going through all that process and then giving me my dress house and me putting on real clothes. I think that'll, I'll be like, okay, all right, this is it. I think that'll be when it hits me, and the rest of the time just sitting over there to be like, okay, I think that's when it's really going to hit me. When I put on my dress house in R&R, I think it'll hit me, and then coming out, like getting out, will be, I know it's going to be surreal. I know it's going to be surreal.
Yeah. Shit, man, I know it's surreal for me, standing out there and I'm waiting. I'm like, man, like, is that a van coming over there? And then, no, that ain't a van. Oh, here comes a van. And then they just drive past it like, shit, false alarm. That's not it, guys. I know with Joe that happened. There was like maybe like 3 or 4 vans that passed by. And I was like, no, man, this isn't it. And finally that van came, the one that pulled over next to me. I saw that blinker going up. I was like, oh, hell yeah, we got a winner. And that car, that van pulled right in front of me. The cops jump off. They open up that back door, and then I found that interesting that they still have you guys locked up when they're releasing you. There's individual what is it like a booth inside the van where they have your compartments inside the van, and then they unlock those. They start letting you guys out. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I just figured it was like a regular van, like 3 seats, and everybody would just be in the van, and now they still got you guys separated. So I found that I found that interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Right? You're in the custody to the last minute, man. It's, like he definitely set the ambiance, man. Like you're in prison.
You're not out till you're out. Yeah.
Every minute of every day. Yeah. So that's kind of walking down these last couple of months. That's kind of. It's been ingrained in me, and we've talked to me.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I cut back on the yard, day room, and, I've been kind of, like, secluded, just, like, slowly trying to decompress and like, release all of this stuff and let this stuff go, because, like I said, I've been so used to being here in this culture and this place that, I know I have to... I want to kind of do some prepping and decompressing before I come home,
Yeah. Let me see. I got a question from Ryan Duffy. He's asking, what's the success rate of the releases you've done? So far at this point, everybody that's been released that I've interviewed, they haven't gone back. And from the numbers that shared from the CDCR, normally individuals that are in a situation like Silas that are lifers, when they come out, they have a 1% chance of coming back or reoffending. And normally when they do reoffend, it's normally over it's a domestic violence issue from what I hear. Do you know a little bit more of that, Silas?
Yeah, so actually it's substance abuse or domestic violence. So those are the 2 key factors for relapse and recidivism for the lifer population. But like you said, I believe it's less than 1%, maybe 1%. I mean, but people that come to prison and receive a life sentence and get found for unsuitability for parole, they're not coming back. Even on a paternity test, it's 99.9999. You know what I mean? So think of it like that, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, yeah, I know it's 99.9999, but is he really my kid? Like, yeah, he's your kid, man. That's what we're looking at when we're talking about the lifer population and recidivism. And here's another interesting tidbit, right? So I don't know if the viewers were listening earlier. I graduated from San Diego State from the bachelor program, the Visualizing Incarcerated Scholars Through Academia program earlier this May. Received an interdisciplinary degree in communications, graphic design, and journalism. So as far as education is concerned, for people in prison, for people who earn an associate's degree, their recidivism rate is 13.7. For those that earn a bachelor's degree, I believe it's 5.6. For those that earn a master's degree, it's 0%. So it's 0. You earn a master's degree in prison, it's 0%. No one who earns a master's degree comes back to prison. So there's a correlation with education as well as, the self-help regimen and all of the things that are available within CDCR, within the last, I'd say 10 or 12 years that, it equips people to go back into society and particularly, out there in the Los Angeles County area, they're just, and San Francisco Bay Area, like they're just a plethora of resources out there for lifers.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
And most, nearly everyone, they go out there and they take those, they take those opportunities and they succeed.
Okay, Silas, it went silent there towards the end.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're back on. Yep.
Okay. No, I was just saying that most of the people that go out there and take advantage of those resources, they succeed. You know, particularly lifers.
Yeah, those are some pretty impressive numbers there of not reoffending.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll bring up another interesting point when I call back right now.
Okay, cool, for sure. We'll be we'll be waiting. All right, guys. So right now I'm putting up a phone number on the screen. You might be wondering what it is. So I'm not sure if you guys can see right here on the screen. I got this pager. The pager does work. If you guys wouldn't mind paging me a question for Silas and to get a little bit more interaction from you guys, if you will. Let me see here. Let me fix the color on the number there because you can't really see it. Let me see. That'll work. All right.
This is Global Tel Link.
call is
You
now
have a
being
prepaid
recorded.
call from
Silas Johnson.
an incarcerated individual at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now.
Cinco.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hey, Jasmine, how's it going? Hey, Silas.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think I mentioned this to you, but maybe like a month or two ago, I ended up going retro and I ended up buying a pager that was activated with 3 months of service. So I just mentioned to the audience right now that if they have any questions, if they could page me that question to the pager number I just put on the screen, to get to be a little bit more interactive. If they have any questions, feel free to ask them, and then they could see the page in real time right here on the screen with us. We got Matthew Davis. Matthew Davis wrote, "Hey Silas." And then
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. You said he Matthew Davis said, "Hey, Silas."
Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah, he's
Oh, hey, what's going on, Matthew? Good morning to you.
And Maka is asking me how much is per call. So fortunately, in the state of California, these phone calls are free. They're $3.99, my favorite price. These calls are being paid by the California taxpayers, if you will. California's been offering free phone calls from state prisons for I think a little bit over 2 years at this point. So all these calls, every time Silas calls me, it's free. So I don't have to pay for these calls. Luckily, because we've been talking, on and off for the last 2 years, and if I would have to pay for these phone calls, it would have definitely would have been a huge bill for me. So I don't have to pay for those calls. Thanks to the California taxpayers, if you will.
Yes, sir. Big up California taxpayers.
And Canva's asking what the pager number. If you look right here, it's right here on the screen. You see where it says page me, 213-209-0047 is the number right here. And let me see. I got I have another question somebody had asked over here on the chat. Let me see. Ms. Bossy is asking, other than his brothers, is there anyone else he's coming home to?
Yeah, I have a strong support network. I have a ton of family. I have just a ton of family. I have a ton of people like in the academic community, professors and different people that I have support from. First and foremost, my daughter out there. So I have a ton of loved ones that I'm coming home to. So it's going to be a really great experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. You still got your family, by your side. They haven't fell off after this amount of time. your family normally are the ones that stick next to you or by your side. When you go through things like this, normally your friends, the people you're running with on the street, they normally disappear and vanish. And let me ask you with that, how many of your people that you used to hang around with when you were out, you doing your thing on the street, how many of those people do you still speak with?
I don't communicate with any of them. And it's crazy, right? Like, it's so crazy. Like, when you look at, and I'm not here to, hey, whatever somebody wants to do with their life, whatever gives somebody purpose and meaning, hey, the more power to you, have at it. But, like, I was a gang member for the better part of 30 years, right? And, almost 30 years. And like, you have social media, right? You can go on Facebook and look up somebody that you were in school with in the second grade, you know what I mean? Some random person, right? And find them. And you have yards full of gang members, repping their neighborhood and doing whatever. And I'm sure if you went around and took a poll, the people who have so-called homeboys or homegirls in the community, none of those people are coming up to prison and visiting these people. None of them are writing letters, sending pictures, putting money on their books, sending them to the store, and with access. So all you got to do is go on inmate locator, because, everybody knows in the hood when somebody gets locked up, You grew up with somebody, you know their first and last name, you know that. You can go on inmate locator and find it.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I've had people, get into my contacts on the Getting Out app, friends that I knew, but so-called homeboys, gang members, you couldn't find any one of those dudes, So there's no reason for me to communicate with them, they're doing what they feel they need to do with their lives. I've moved on from that, and I'm doing what I need to do for myself and my family. So, that's just what it is.
That's right. Let me see. We got a question from Jessica. Jessica's asking, did you ever run into any of them in jail or prison?
Any of who?
Like any of your, maybe your homies, the ones you used to run with in the street, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I've run into, over the years, I've run into a few people that I knew, that I grew up with, I went to high school with, and stuff like that. Yeah, I've run into a few of them, and unfortunately, we were still on the same page, doing the same things that led us to prison. While we spent our time together. I wish I could have been a version of myself right now, so I could have, imparted some positivity on them instead of all of the negative BS that we assisted each other with. But yeah, I've run into them, not recently, not over the last 5 years, but I had run into them previously.
Thank you for sharing that, Silas. Let me see, and then we have Just Nature Navigators, and what was he put inside for, and how long? I think that's probably one of the most popular questions there is why is he in prison, and why has he been in prison so long, is the $1 million question. So
in November 2000, I committed a home invasion robbery, and on January 5th, 2001, I committed second degree of 187, and so I was in prison. I got sentenced to 24 to life, so I've been in prison for 24 years and 7 months now.
Hey, since you were sentenced to 24 to life, when you go for the parole board, do you have to actually wait 24 years before you're actually able to go in front of the parole board, or are you giving some type of credit to be able to go a little bit earlier before the 24 years? How does that part work as far as going in front of the parole board?
Well, without any law changes, my minimum eligibility parole date would have been February 2025. But because of the youth offender law, which cites that individuals brains are not fully matured until they're 25, and I committed my crimes at 22 and 23, I was eligible to go before BPH in 2020 actually, but due to me just the constant misconduct, I waived time for 3 years so that I can get some clean time under my belt and finish school and finish college and get a trade and do some more rehabilitative programming. But I mean, if I would have had my head together and my act together, I would have been out of prison probably almost 5 years ago.
And let me ask you. A moment ago you mentioned home invasion as one of your charges. That home invasion you did, did it have to do with gang related activities, or was it a normal Joe this crime was committed on?
It was gang related slash. He wasn't a regular Joe. He was somebody who was a dealer, somebody that was dealing in what I considered to be my territory, and I took offense that he was dealing over there without coming in, and getting our blessing, and so that's pretty much what prompted the whole thing.
And then on your controlling case, which was the taking of a life, was it and not to justify what you did, but was it a average citizen, or was it somebody involved in the same life as you were during that time?
I mean, it was somebody that was a gang member. He was a gang member. However, I will say he wasn't he didn't pose an active threat to me. I approached him and caused the confrontation in which I later shot him. So he wasn't. While he was a gang member, it wasn't like he was an imminent threat to me. It was something that was senseless. It was something that I initiated, and it was definitely something that didn't need to happen, and I didn't need to do.
Yeah. And what you mentioned earlier on about the laws changing and whatnot, and them doing studies on your brain not being fully developed until what is it like 25, 26 now that they say that the brain doesn't fully mature.
25.
25. Do you believe that your brain wasn't fully matured, and what do they say that you don't really understand why that what you do isn't right, or how's that work? Do you know the correct terms to it?
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I do believe in the science, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about in the general sense,
yeah,
I do believe in the science, that the science applies, because it particularly when in gangland culture, right? Or even just a young adult, young adults are egocentric, and what I mean by that for any of the viewers, egocentric is, to give an example, the best example I've ever heard of egocentrism is you have two little boys, Billy, who's 4, and John, who's 2, right? Somebody asked Billy if he has a younger brother, and Billy, the 4-year-old, says, "Yeah, John." Mm-hmm. He points to the 2-year-old. He says, "Yeah, I have a brother. It's John." They ask Billy if John has a brother, and Billy says no, because Billy can only see the world through his eyes. He can't picture life through his brother's eyes to recognize that he is John's brother. So that's what egocentrism is, essentially. It's only seeing life through the prism of your own experiences in your eyes. And so I believe that all young adults are egocentric to a degree. Now, if we're talking about my individual case, I knew full well what I was doing. I experienced death since I was 15 years old when a friend of mine, Nikki, was murdered. I knew, I had family members who died. I knew the irreparable consequences of firing a firearm into a human being. I knew what death was. I knew that it was final, What I didn't consider was, the ramifications, the pain that it would cause the individual that I shot, the individual's family, the years and years of pain and suffering, and at my hearing, I went a few months ago, and to have a family member there in the hearing present virtually, it's not like it's over for them, it's like, it's new. It's still, their loved one is gone forever, So I think in that aspect, in that regard, I really didn't have the forward thinking to really understand and fully understand the gravity of that and respect the magnitude of what I was doing. But make no mistake, I knew what I was doing. I was a horrible human being, and I did a horrible thing.
Thank you, Silas, for for being honest about what you did and giving us a little bit of insight of what you were what you did and that you knew that you know what you did. You just
You have 60 seconds remaining.
man, that's I know you mentioned your parole board hearing and I when you said that I just recall that conversation we had about when the individuals that you took his life, his brother calling in and what he said, and man, it's just it's hard, man. I to be honest with you, I don't know like how do you deal with that? Having that on your conscience, thinking about what you did and like you said, it's for keeps. It's forever.
I'll answer that when I call back right now.
All right, for sure. Thank you. Man. Great. So Silas should be out soon. Within the next, I would say, in the next two months. Let me see. On a real note, though, having a family member on the live, I feel that Silas is reformed. Right, Chad. Thank you for that, Chad. And Jessica wrote, your frontal lobe isn't fully developed, which plays a big part into decision making and process. Let me.
This is Global
call is now
Telephone.
being
You have a
recorded.
prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an incarcerated individual at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now.
Cinco.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Okay, I'm back.
All right, Silas.
Yeah. So to answer your question, right, I'll answer it two-pronged. From the past and then present.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, right, I had become so callous, and I didn't value myself as a human being, and so I definitely didn't value anybody else's life. And so, from that perspective, back then, taking a life was shamefully easy to do because nothing meant anything. I was running around like as a violent gang member, and I had this, I had this nihilistic viewpoint that nothing mattered. I mean, I grew up and I'd had friends killed. I'd seen an individual murdered. There are so many people that I knew growing up that were murdered that it was just like, I mean, it was the natural, probable conclusion that you die before you turn 21. So in a world like that, when life really meant nothing, taking someone's life from that perspective really wasn't that big of a deal. And it's horrible to say that, but I just want the viewers to understand, like, the kind of mentality that gangland culture breeds, And coming into prison is kind of something that you just kind of stuff down and you put away, One of the things that kind of opened the door for some hope within, like, my spirit was at the victim's impact, at my trial, my sentencing, the victim's impact statements. the gentleman whose life I took, his grandmother came up, and she, she spoke, and she spoke directly to me, and she asked me, she said she prayed that God would soften my heart and that I would, come to realize not just what I'd taken from her and her family, but what I'd taken from my family and from myself. And she pointed over to my mother, who since passed on, and my family that was behind me. And that, having her, first of all, offer me some grace in that moment, when she had every reason to hate me, was extraordinary. And the second half was her wisdom in saying, hey, look, it's not just about what you've taken from us, dummy. Look at what you've done to yourself. Look at what you've done to your family. Like, they're losing. You're losing. All of us are losing. And so that was like the first, like, kind of pinch, tug at my heartstrings. But, when in that life, you kind of, you take that experience and you lock it in a box and you put it away and you lock it in the closet, because, I mean, you're not supposed to feel anything like that. You're not supposed to feel anything close to guilt or remorse, because if you do, then you can't do, quote unquote, what needs to be done, as somebody who's antisocial and violent, and coming into prison, that's what I became, and so it wasn't that difficult to live with, because I just didn't care. To be frank with you, I just didn't care. I couldn't allow myself to care, because if I did, then I'd have to face down the horrible person that I was, and I would have to look at myself and see somebody that I didn't like, and who wants to do that? That's inconvenient, No one wants to face themselves and all of the ugly things they've done, and the person that's unacceptable to themselves, So for years I lived like that, and I committed violence, and I just said, hey, this is the culture, this is the way that my world is, and this is what happens. But probably the last 5 or 6 years, I allowed myself to feel the weight of the loss that I've caused other people through victimization, through victimizing people, and it's been a gift, and it's also been a curse. Because once you begin to acknowledge the person that you've been, the things that you've done, and you can't unsee it, and then you can't stop feeling, and you carry around, the guilt of what you've done. And for me, I'll always carry the guilt of the harm that I've caused the individuals that I won't say his name, because in honor of him and his family, I don't have a right to say his name in a public forum. But the pain that I've caused, not only he and his family, but my family as well. And so I always feel that guilt going forward. And I've learned to live with that guilt by committing myself to acts of service. There's a program called the Alternatives to Violence Project that I facilitate and I coordinate here. And there's a program we have called GROW. It's a youth development program here where we bring in at risk. I don't like saying at risk, so I'll say at potential youth, who are on the borderline of going astray. And we mentor them, and we do goal setting with these youth. And it's something beautiful to see, man. So that helps, with the guilt. And moving forward, I'll always be of service in the community. There are things that I'm going to go out there and do that probably the average lifer parolee wouldn't feel an obligation to do. But I understand that I have a higher purpose to really, uplift humanity out there. So that's kind of how I kind of deal with the guilt, with living amends, and there are 3 counts of amends. There are direct amends, there are living amends and indirect amends. So I plan to make amends by living amends and indirect amends, and direct amends by paying off my restitution. So that's that half of it. The shame I've gotten rid of. I think Brene Brown, she really put it eloquently in one of her books that guilt is acknowledging that I've done something bad, which is what I carry. Shame is saying that I am bad. And I believe that you are what you do. And I've been a gang member. I've been someone who's unalived someone. I've been, a robber. I've been hyper violent. I've been all of those things. But I am none of those things anymore. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a convict.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I'm a father. I'm a brother. I'm an uncle. I'm a scholar. I'm an author. I'm a life learner. I'm an altruistic man. So I own those identities, and that has helped me overcome any type of shame for what I've done. But make no mistake, it's difficult, to live with, because it's something that I can't replenish. I can't replenish the life that I've taken. I can replenish the money that I've taken, but I can't replenish a life, and so that's difficult to live with, and it should be. I think one of the most important things that I've told the youth bringing them in here is that, the things that we do, whether, you harm someone and you get away with it, or you feel like you've gotten away with it, as far as the legal system is concerned. And I'm not talking about a higher, like a higher judge like God or anything. I won't get into any of that. But what I will say is, the things that you do that adversely affect and harm other people, it not only changes them, it changes you. And it changes you for the worse. And so I just provide that little bit of caution to people to kind of think twice before you just recklessly, lash out and harm somebody else, whether it's through action or words,
Man, Silas. Let me see. I'm gonna read out some of these comments right here. We got a comment from Jessica. She writes, "Oh, I love this. I love his perspective. He definitely has seen the light and changed his vision. I am a nurse." Let me see. And she also wrote, "I'm a nurse and I have dealt with other gang-related members, and it's hard to come out of that mentality." Grace wrote, "I found these stories very interesting."
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. It's very difficult to come out of that mentality. Like, if you've been socialized as a gang member, I mean, I think we talked about this before. Like, it's we talk about, right, like, like abuse that I won't say it on here, but like the abuse of children in the other regard, in the worst regard that we all know, what
Yeah.
I mean? But if you look at, how children in low-income neighborhoods are socialized by older gang members, that's also a form of abuse. You talk about, on the other side of the spectrum, people grooming, in that way, But there's also the grooming in gangland culture where you teach a kid from 8 and 9 years old growing up, that this is life and these are the rules, and I mean, a kid like that, think of someone who has parents who are gang members in the house, and they grow up in the house is like the kickback spot or the hangout spot where all of the homies come, and this kid really doesn't have a chance. I mean, they're being socialized to believe that wrong is right, and they're being socialized to be antisocial. And it's really, really hard when you've been raised, these are your values. Your values are criminal values, are antisocial values. And so to change that is I mean, it's a Herculean task. It's really difficult. I'm fortunate that I grew up with my father and my grandfather who were blue collar cats. And so I learned, morals and values and work ethic. And when I was in the home, I just went out into society and just cast all of that off and adopted the street morals. So, but for people who just grew up in it and that was just it, that was all they knew, like, it's really difficult because, I mean, we fool ourselves into believing that there's no other way, that this is the only way to live. Like, And when you have your mind set like that, there really isn't any hope. You have a one-track mind. There's nobody can tell you anything.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? And I want to make a announcement to anybody, and I'm not sure if you're interested in it. Would you be interested in bringing somebody else on? Like if they want to ask you any questions, that they want to, connect like that right now. If you're open to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So
Absolutely.
if anybody's listening in right now, and you guys have been actively participating in the chat, or if you guys are longtime followers, and you guys want to ask Silas a question, send me a request to join the call, and I'll bring you guys in, and you guys could go ahead and ask him, whatever you guys want. The only thing I ask, is just to be respectful. This is a public forum, and I'm not trying to get a ban for anything inappropriate. So, if you're open to that, hit me, send me a request, and I'll go ahead and merge you guys on for a few minutes so you guys could go ahead and ask him that. I'm going to go ahead and continue reading out some of these comments right here. Janelle writes, Silas should be a peer counselor. Let me see. Just Nature Navigators writes, reform can work. What specifically helped him reform? Mental health support, education?
Actually, it was a variation. First of all, I can't overemphasize like how important and powerful education is. Like my AA degree is in psychology, and I graduated from Imperial Valley College, the best community college in the country. Big up Imperial Valley College. And just going into class, right, and sitting down in a class full of gang members, right, and
You have 60 seconds remaining.
seeing, individuals' minds open up to different philosophies, different ways of being, and having conversations that, receiving different points of view. Like, it's once you know something, you can't unknow it. And to see everyone's eyes open up and realize that what we're doing is nonsense, even if they're afraid to say it outright, is really interesting. So education was,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
getting my GED was huge, and get my GED, get my AA degree, and that kind of empowered me to go on into the bachelor's degree program at San Diego State here at the prison. And so education was a huge part of it. Self-help courses, Alternatives to Violence Project was a huge impact on my life. I advise anybody who has.
All right. So these calls, unfortunately, they only last 15 minutes. They're automatically cut off. He should be calling us back in the next few moments, and we'll go ahead and continue. Thank you guys for dropping the comments and tapping the screens. Highly appreciate that. I'm not sure how many taps we got already, because do we got 100,000 likes? Could it be? I don't know. On my screen here, it says it has the little heart. It has 0.01 M. So I'm assuming it's 100,000 taps. And if you guys have tapped that much, highly appreciate it.
This is
call is
Global
now being
Tellink.
recorded.
You have a
Thank you.
prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an incarcerated individual at
Oh,
the Centinela State Prison,
damn.
Centinela, California. This call
120
and your
for one,
telephone number
105
will be
another. Thank
monitored
you,
and
guys.
recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now.
Hopefully you guys got those automatic tappers that I see be on the TikTok shop.
Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Hello.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I was just saying, I encourage anybody who has anger or violence issues or any history with gang violence to check out the Alternatives to Violence Project. They actually do workshops online, which is pretty cool. So so it was a multitude of things, going into talk therapy with the clinician here on the facility. That helped me unpack, and I plan to go back into therapy upon my release when I get out there into the community. So it was just a number of things, reconnecting with my daughter. Like, there are a lot of things that inspire me, but education and probably therapy are the most important things that kind of helped me transition and turn my life around.
You know what, Silas? I wanna touch on something that you mentioned earlier on. When you were sentenced, you had mentioned that I believe it was the grandmother of the individual that you took his life had said something in regards to like that. Not only that you affect their family's life, you also affected your family's life. And when you said that, a question came into my mind. What were the conversations you had like with your mom and your dad in regards to what you did in the situation you were in? Did you guys talk about it? The outcome when you were sentenced, how you affected your life, how you affected the other individual's life. I know during that time you had mentioned that you were active gang member, so your mind you were about that life. So I'm not sure what those conversations were like, and I don't think I've ever asked you before.
With my parents, there never was really a conversation about that. I think from both of my parents, both of my parents have passed on, but I think from both of their perspectives, they were, obviously they were disappointed, in me, and had dreams and hopes for me to be more than I was. And there was an underlying sense of pain and disappointment. And it was funny because, well, it wasn't funny, but it was strange because it was never expressed. It was just something that, from knowing them and knowing who they were as people, it was just known, and that kind of made it worse. Looking back now, it kind of makes it worse because, it was kind of even too painful for them to express, particularly, my father, for him to even express how disappointed he was, and so it was difficult, but they were always, supportive and, emotionally, financially. The last time I seen both of my parents together was 2007 in Tehachapi Shoe behind glass, when I was in Tehachapi Shoe for a battery with SBI, and so it's just crazy looking back, like on all the things that I did that were just so reckless, and I didn't think about it at the moment, that had just lasting ramifications. And even up until like
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Your parents are, if you're lucky, like me, your parents are your biggest supporters, and your biggest cheerleaders. And there was never a conversation, about what took place, but there was always that sense of sadness and disappointment at what I had done.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, that I could imagine. Like what the conversation was when you were in Tehachapi. Not only you're in prison for life at that time. You're in what, Shoe Atseg? You're behind glass, and you're still, at that time, you're still doing the same things that you were doing on the street. So, man.
One of the things that after I got out of Tehachapi Shoe, I was only out for 3.5 months before an old cellmate and I, we committed what was initially classified as an attempted murder in Kern Valley, and I went to Corcoran Shoe. And I spent 5.5 years in Corcoran Shoe, where I stupidly and unfortunately assaulted my cellie with a weapon. Not this cellie, but a new cellie.
I was about to say.
I stabbed him 5 times. No, not that cellie.
Yeah.
I stabbed him 5 times in the cell, which I'm on single cell still for to this day. And so, like, my mom drives up there. She's visiting me in another shoe, yet again, and I'm behind the glass, and I'm telling her about, why I, quote, had to stab this, quote, unquote, air quotes, had to stab this dude. And I'll never forget the way when I'm explaining this to my mom in a jumpsuit behind the glass in a cage, and she's sitting there with one of my cousins, and I'm explaining to her, hey, why I had to go put in work and go move in the cell with this guy and do this, right? My mother is looking at me while I'm explaining this the same way that you would look at a mental patient trying to explain to you that he is Superman and he can fly. I'll never forget the way that my mother was looking at me. And when I went back to the cell, it really bothered me because I thought, she never said it. She never said it. But I thought to myself, because I know my mom, and I know her, and the way that she was looking at me, I know for a fact that she was thinking to herself, my son has lost his mind in here. He has come in here and lost his mind. My baby has lost his mind. Because when I'm explaining to her, it doesn't make sense. Like, who does that? Like, really? You had like a verbal altercation with somebody, so he disrespected you, so you moved in the cell and you stabbed him? Like, who does that? And so it's just crazy, just, like looking back, like all of the craziness, man, like that this gang stuff, that we perpetuate and we think is cool and, we laugh about and talk about and like it's some warrior stuff, but it's just crazy, man. Like we like when you talk about, impacting other people, like it's just one of the things that we don't think about, It's easy to say, this is my life and, I'm the only one dealing with the consequences. But yeah, I can say that, but my mom was driving 8 hours up there to see me in the shoot, I mean, my parents and my brothers are sending me packages and money for canteen and, all of that. And, like, I'm abusing them as well, So it's just crazy, man.
So to put into perspective, the way when you would explain to somebody what you did, or they heard that what you had done, it was a complete different response from them.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
From the response that you got from your mom, right?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, if the same thing I was explaining to my mom, like I could go back to the shoe yard or to the cages out there and, and explain it to somebody and have somebody, big me up and give me respect, like, yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, man, you in there and handle your business, man. Man, I heard about you, man, man.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, Like, it's just crazy,
And when you would hear something like that from somebody, like, yeah, you keep on doing what you're doing, or they'll dab you up, like, damn, you're like, hey, you did that. When you would hear things like that, how did that make you feel?
Affirmed in what I was doing. It made me feel affirmed in what I was doing. It made me feel like, that, because in my mind, that was all I had. The gang thing was all I had. I was in prison the rest of my life. And I'm the type of person that I don't do things halfway. When I started my redemptive and rehabilitative path, I stopped smoking pot. I stopped using cell phones. I stopped actively, being a gang member. And so, I'm full-fledged in this life that I'm in. I'm a student, that's what I am. But when I was a gang member, I was a gang member in every sense of the word. The violence that came with it, the directives that came with it, and so it made me feel good. It made me feel affirmed. It made me feel like, that I had purpose, because at that point, being a gang member, was my purpose.
Yeah. And then, so I have another question now. So once you decided to change your life and you were having conversations with your mom, did she ever express like happiness or gratitude that you had changed your life, and you were seeking, to better yourself, whether it's, education or the people you were hanging around with, and ultimately, you were trying to come home?
Yeah, I fortunately with my mother, I got that opportunity. With my father, he passed away in 2015. So, and I was on C status for getting caught with 2 cell phones back to back. So I was still moronic, doing the same things, you know. And so when he passed away, like it was difficult, you know, because for all intents and purposes, I mean, I'd gotten my I'd earned my GED, but for all intents and purposes, you know, my life had been a failure at that point, you know. And so, you know, that's kind of difficult to live with, you know. My mother, it's a little bit better, you know. She got to see me graduate receive my AA degree. I was a bachelor student in San Diego State. When she passed, I had become an author. I was published in several other publications, and you know, I was well on my way to coming home, you know. And so she got to see me, you know, mature and you know, cast off all of the gangland pathology and to get, you know, to reunite with my daughter. And so with my mom, it was a little bit different, and she expressed how proud of me she was, and it's one of the things I'll always be thankful for, that I had the opportunity, you know, that she had the opportunity to witness, you know, me becoming who I was meant to be before she passed.
Man. Well, at least you were able to, you know, give her that before she, you know, she passed away. I know. What has it been? Is it a year now? Or is it about to be a year that she passed away?
It'll be 2 years,
man. 2 years.
2 years. 2 years in November 24th. It'll be 2 years.
Wow.
It's crazy. My dad passed away. My dad passed away 10 years on the 22nd of November.
Mm-hmm.
My dad passed away. He'll be gone for 10 years. And 2 days later, my mom passed away. I mean, obviously it was 8 years later, but
yeah,
2 years, you know, November 24th, 2 days later, it'll be 2 years. So 2 days apart.
Yeah, I remember that, man. I remember that, but man, it doesn't even feel like it's been 2 years at this point, or the 2 years are coming up.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, you know, and it's, you know, they're passing it, you know, first my father, and then you know, my mother. It forced me to look at my life, and you know, I mean, life is short, but if you're lucky, you know, life is long, you know. And at the end of it, you know, I ask myself, like, who do I want to be remembered as? Like, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to, you know, do I want to be somebody who impacted people's lives? And
you have 60 seconds remaining.
Who meets people, and when they walk away from me, they feel good about having an interaction with me? Or do I want to be the type of individuals where, you know, it's like freaking Devo, they see you coming and they're like, oh man, here this dude coming. Like, you know, like, you know, you don't want to leave that kind of imprint, you know, on the world. You know, you kind of want to, you know, you want to create a legacy of love, man, and, you know, and of goodness, you know, and, you know, you don't want people to remember you like, man, that you know, he was a bastard, you know.
Yeah. Thank you, my love. Hey, so I know the call's about to hang up. If you want to go ahead and call back, and I know you got to go somewhere in about 45 minutes, so maybe we could do one more, and then so like that you could go ahead and get ready for whatever you got going on over there.
Okay.
All right. And anybody that's just coming in, thank you and welcome. You know, just passing through, welcome. Lindsay, thank you, welcome, and OG, gracias. Highly appreciate you guys tapping in. Appreciate you guys dropping comments. Appreciate you guys tapping the screen. I appreciate all of you guys. I know this, you know, these phone calls, they're a lot different than you know, it brings in you know, the court hearings, which brings in a lot of you guys. But you know, but for those of you that are sticking around, I really appreciate you guys. And there we go. Here goes another call. Go ahead and patching them on through.
This call is now being recorded. You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an incarcerated individual at the The
You know what?
Centinela State
I need to
Prison,
call him. I need to
Centinela,
find out.
California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, Silas.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah. So I have a question from Mommy Heartless is asking if you have a release date. So yeah, Silas does have a date. It's just a slow process, to come home from California. Do you want to explain a little bit of how that works, Silas?
Sure. So anytime a lifer is granted suitability, particularly if he has a 187, there's a review period of 150 days. So within that 150 days, the Board of Parole hearings, they review your file, them finding you suitability, and then they send it up to the governor of California. Once the governor of California reviews it, he has one of three options. He can choose to take no action, in which case I'll be released immediately, or he can rescind my suitability and say, well, I don't give a damn what BPA says. I'm not letting this guy out. And that's usually reserved for like extraordinary cases, like, like let's say if Charles Manson was still alive and he got granted parole, I don't think the governor would let him out. And then the third option is what is known as en banc, and that's ENBANC. And en banc is essentially the governor reviewing your case, your suitability, and he may see something in there that, let's say, I don't believe he's addressed substance abuse adequately enough, or I don't believe the commissioner addressed it with him adequately in the hearing, and I'd like to, so he's kicking it back, he's punting it back to BPH, and essentially picking something out of there that he doesn't like and asking BPH to double check it and saying, hey, are you sure about this guy? And so they send it back down to BPH, and you have what is called an en banc hearing, and those occur the third week of every month. And it's not like the parole hearing where you attend with your attorney via video. It's actually a public hearing, and it's a 9-panel commissioner. And so they listen to your case, and they vote. And if they vote in your favor, then they affirm your suitability, and you're usually released. I've seen people be released as late as 12 days, as early as 5 days. So you're quickly released after your suitability is upheld at an en banc. So I'm currently at day 96. So the governor still has 54 days to 54 days left to either take no action or en banc or rescind. And after that, if he doesn't respond in 150 days, then he's not taking any action, and I'll be released, which will be the end of November. If he does en banc me, then I'll go through the en banc process, and once I'm affirmed there, then I'll be released after that. I know that was long and arduous, but California parole suitability is an arduous process.
Yeah, no, I thank you, and I don't even think I've been able to use a quarter of the words you use, so I highly appreciate that, for putting that into perspective for anybody that's viewing. There might be some people in here that have actually seen the en banc hearings with us, because I try to do them live whenever they do take place. And they are interesting, especially when you have like the DA showing up or the people, in support of the individual, coming home, or if there's people that are against it. So it gives you a different perspective into what goes into actually making it out of prison, and it's just not where they grant you walk out them gates. It's a long and tedious process, and I'm sure it's straining on your end because there's so many unknown, so many variables that you have no control over. So like let's say if you do get in bond on your 120 a day, that'll push your release possibly until December, or or possibly it'll even push it up where you could possibly get out early. Like let's say if you get embarked for November, and you could maybe possibly get
Right.
out maybe like a week earlier than what your anticipated release date is. So it works. It works both ways when it comes to getting out. You could either prolong it, or it could you possibly have you come out earlier.
Right. And this, it is, it's anxiety producing, and it's a little stressful and all of those things. But I've been having anxiety, for the last few weeks. But now that, like, you mentioned that, right? I thought about something that a former lifer, Marcus, we were walking around the track, and before he paroled, he had got found suitable, and he had gotten bonked, and they rescinded his suitability, and he subsequently got found suitable again and went home. But during the first suitability, when they rescinded it and took his suitability away, we were walking the track, and I was telling him, and this is before I'd even went to board the first time, I was telling him, like, man, there's, when I was doing the wrong thing, when I was wilding out, like, I really didn't have to have the responsibility of caring about anything. And it was so much better because I was just carefree, because nothing really, I didn't have any responsibility, And now that I'm doing things the right way, everything is so stressful because I'm so worried about making a mistake, doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing. And what he told me was, he asked me a question. He said, do you know what you're experiencing right now? And I was like, what? And he said, justice. And it's crazy because I think that's a major part of it, right? Like, being accountable isn't just saying, okay, well, yeah, I did this and I accept responsibility. Being accountable
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
is accepting and enduring all of these things that come along with it. You know what I mean? Like the angst, the anxiety that I feel like, that's all a part of like the justice. You know what I mean? Like it's all a part of it. And when I'm not talking about like in the legal sense, I'm talking about, in the intrinsic sense of justice, the universal sense of justice,
I like the sound of that. I'm gonna have to use that one for in the future. Whenever somebody's is stressing, I'm like, hey, you know what that you're feeling, right? That's justice right there. You didn't feel it before, but now you get, yeah. I think I like that. I like that he said that and that he shared that with me.
Yeah, it's real, man. It's real, man. The bill is gonna come due, man. Whatever, everything that you do, man, there's cause and effect, man. There's consequences, good and bad, man. And you're gonna, there is no free lunch, man. You're gonna have to accept responsibility on either on the front end or on the back end,
Yeah,
And I think it's just helpful to understand it, because if we understand it, then hopefully we make better decisions with our lives,
Yeah. And we got somebody asking, Tati, is this Silas? Yeah, you know it. I mean, who else is gonna be getting dropping those $5 and $10 words on us? It's none. And,
Hey, I'm gonna give y'all a discount today, man. It's gonna be 5 cents right now, man. I'm giving y'all a discount. It's 5 cents. So
yeah.
I had to make a segment called My 2 Cents.
Oh man, they're asking me the name of the book again. So the name of the book of Silas's book, the easiest way to find it is if you type in Silas M. Johnson on Google. If not, if you're up for the challenge, the name of the book is gonna be A River's Light in a Bering Tunnel, elegies and effigies. And let me ask you, Silas, what does that mean? Because I mean, I understand a river's light in a Bering Tunnel, but what does elegies and effigies mean?
So, an elegy is a sorrowful or mournful poem, and it's usually reserved for someone who's dead. An effigy is a crude depiction of a hated figure. So, like if you made like a scarecrow and you put Donald Trump's face on it, like that would be considered an effigy.
Okay, okay.
So when I thought of, a river's light in a barren tunnel is obviously, hope, in a dark place, in a dark and desolate place. But elegies, which is the first part of the book, is the first poems and compositions of the first half of the book. The second half, effigies and elegies and effigy is I kind of think of the carceral population, right, as these are our songs, right, and these are dark and mournful and sorrowful songs, and in effigy, because being in prison, in my mind, is the ultimate form of effigy, right? Like we're society's crude and hated figures who are depicted in this setting. We are the outcasts, we are the others. And so elegies and effigy is essentially our song and in our identity as effigies.
Are they calling you over there or something?
No, I think they're calling. Like education. But I do need to get ready because it's 12:30. I need to hop to it because they might call us early.
Okay.
We're having an SDSU alumni meeting. Picture that.
Let me see.
Going up in here meeting with these people as alumni.
All right. Let me read out some of these comments before you go right now. Let me see. Jessica wrote out, when you get out, do you plan on being on any platforms to give your wisdoms? I think you would be very motivational. Hopefully that's the plan. Hopefully to help Silas to make some connections and do a TED talk, or something. That's the ultimate goal right there. Help him make whatever connections.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rub elbows with.
I think they just popped my door.
Okay, all right, Silas.
Hold on real quick. Hold on real quick.
Yeah.
Yo, Mighty, are they calling us right now? Oh, wow. Are they calling us right now? He just popped my door. Yeah, I think they're calling me right now.
Okay, all right, for sure.
Hey, Tower, 246.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, they're calling us right now.
Hey, all right. Well, shit. Lindsay Sales,
but
she said keep your head up.
To answer your last question, yeah, hopefully, I definitely plan to be on a platform. Maybe start my own platform. I'm definitely going to be tapping in with James and hopefully co-hosting with him in the future when I come home. But yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to starting my own platform and
you have 60 seconds remaining.
Kind of helping out with reentry and education in my own capacity and storytelling. As you can see, I'm a storyteller, so I'm definitely looking forward to that.
For sure, Silas. Hey, Silas, what? Hey, like a candle in the wind, just like that. Life's like a candle. Once you blow it out, it's lights out, and with that, Silas is out.
Peace.
All right. Have a good one. All right, guys. Do you guys want to? I got maybe about 30 to an hour available. Do you guys want to see some more courts? I could find the court right now. I know there's about 50 people in here. If you guys want to see some courts, I could go ahead and get a court stream going on right now. You guys tell me, thumbs up, thumbs down. What should I just end it now? Some courts? All right, cool. Let me set it up. Let me set up the setup real quick. All right. Let me dim the lights right here, and we'll go ahead and let me see what court can I find right now. Let me see.
Ms. Sekai, Mr. Hariyama, you'll also get a chance to make an opening statement and a closing statement, and we'll just kind of, the issues all arise out of the same thing, so it will probably be not as
I don't know what this is. Well, we're about to find out.
Mr. Schmuller, would you like to make your opening statement for me?
Yeah.
If not, I'll switch